Hello, welcome back. As you can see, I've gone quite a long way with the trailer. It's in fact, apart from painting it and then putting it back to putting the large pieces back together, it's finished. So it's time to do the video, obviously, otherwise we'll lose track of where I've been. And what I've done first of all is section 23, which is assembling this piece here, which is the mid platform of the trailer. I'll explain what I mean when I say that in a minute or two, why I say that I should say. Then section 24, which is assembling the front part of the trailer. These trailers are called a swan neck or a gooseneck, sometimes called scissor trailers, and the way they work is this would be up here and the mid piece would go in the middle there. Sadly I've not got three hands, in fact I don't need three hands, so one piece here and this piece would go in the middle there. And what happens is on a modern trailer, this and this, these two pieces are pulled away from the trailer. I'll show you on a picture here. So the trailer separates here and you lower this down on hydraulics so that the trailer sits on the ground, then you separate it here, drive your unit out, and this piece, the swan neck, stays connected to the fifth wheel. You load your trailer, then you reverse back, couple it back in again, put the coupling pins in, lift it up with hydraulics, and then it runs along like that. This trailer isn't like that. This one has no hydraulics on it. You might notice as well it has no landing legs on it, no support legs for the front. And that's because this unit wouldn't normally have that winch on it. And apparently it's it's a hybrid for an engineering team. And what happens with this trailer is on the very front, you can see that there quite clearly, there's a shackle, okay, and that shackle is connected to the winch, so it connects there. You put the parking brake on the trailer brakes, and then from the cab you can operate that winch. That's why there's no winching controls on the platform. You would then drive forward, and as you drive forward you would pay out, obviously you'd uncouple your fifth wheel first, and as you drive forward you would pay out the cable off the winch. That would lower the trailer down at the front here, and the further off you drive the more it would come out like that. And what you would end up with is your trailer looking like that. Obviously I've got a load of wires in the way at the moment. You would then drive your load up onto the trailer or drag it on, depending on if it needed winching. You'd move your unit to the back of the trailer here, you'd pull your winch cable out along and winch your load back onto the trailer. Then you'd move back around to the front, and what you'd do then is reattach your cable, your winch cable, to the shackle at the front there, and do exactly the reverse. Now the way I've done it in the past when I did them was I didn't reverse the unit back. I just took the trailer brakes off using a shunt brake, winched it in with the cable, so I'd keep the unit stationary and pull the trailer towards it, and it would pull it up and into the fifth wheel. Once it's locked in, put the trailer brakes back on and give it a whack so you make sure it's locked in. But that's the way I used to do it. Hey ho. I'm sure somebody will disagree with that. There are also, on these, you need to remove your kingpin, and you would unfasten this piece here and move your kingpin. Otherwise, if it was a concrete ground, for example, you would damage it, and that's never a good thing, damaging the kingpin. So That's the kind of trailer it is. Scissor neck, swan neck, goose neck, whichever you want to call it. And that's the configuration it's in. And all of this is mobile, so it will move up and down. When I finish this kit, I will fasten it all together. I'm going to display it in this fashion. So I don't really need to make sure that all this moves. I will glue it together. You, of course, can choose how you do it. There are several pictures here. That's the transport mode, which is as I've just explained, and the sitting mode, the loading mode, parking mode as they've called it, it's a loading mode, is that. But that trailer would have to be, when you drop the trailer, you would have to have it in that position, because there's no other way of doing it. So you can't use this trailer if you don't have a winch on your vehicle. It's as simple as that. I suppose you could crane load it. Is it worth it is the question. You wouldn't be able to drop it again until you found another crane. So the two modes there, and you really need a vehicle, a tractor unit with a winch on it. That's the two modes, and the place I'm up to. Hang on. There we go. So that's section 23 and 24. Now then, on section 24 you can see there's a load of wires coming out the back of it. What I've done is there are 4 marker lights. 2 at the front, 1 on each side. And I've wired those in with small LEDs. I've also filled the holes in with Maskol, so that when I paint it, it doesn't get paint in there. Then I'll pull the Maskol out and put the red lenses in. This wire here, I was going to run Susie's from the tractor unit, turn that around. From the tractor unit, I was going to run the Susie's here, off this joystick, the pogo stick rather, and then into the front of the trailer. And then from there, through the trailer and round to the power pack. What I've decided to do, however, is still make them into Susie's, but they will just push into that block there, that connector block, and that will finish them off. That'll finish them off nicely. I'm also going to make a black Susie. There's no Susie's came with this kit at all. So I'm going to put the 2 airlines in. They'll be painted red and blue, and a black one to represent the power line, and that one will just go into where it should go in the trailer there. But I wanted to make them all so that I could disconnect them, because moving this thing with everything connected could be a bit of a disaster. I could end up breaking the whole thing. So that's why there's so many wires coming off there, and those wires then go into underneath this planking here. I was going to replace this, but I've decided to keep it. It's not a bad grain on it, to be honest. It looks quite real. And I've put the wires in underneath there and underneath the side, this side, and I've cut 2 pieces, you can see them clearly there, of styrene to block that area off. Otherwise, A, you're going to see a big void under there, and B, you're going to waste a lot of paint trying to hide the grey plastic. So I've just hidden them off there, and when it's painted, it'll all disappear, that. And so, of course, will the red connector block. They come out on the back here, and they will fit, when this is in place, they will fit, oops, which way? That way. They will fit down the back of that middle piece. It's struggling with English today. So that's that. They're all rolled up on a piece of sandpaper so that I don't get them tangled up in all sorts of things. Then we went on to building the trailer. Now I've decided before I started the trailer, that I was going to put the power pack, the batteries and distribution boards in underneath the trailer. So that's exactly what I've done. So I'm going to use a 9-volt battery, and I've decided to use soldered on distribution boards for this. There's not an awful lot of room, and what I've done basically is this is put in as it should be, and all these girders across, those beams across, I've been putting it as they should be. I've missed one out there, and I've moved one along to there, so that there's two very close together, and that gives me the space to put the battery in, as so. And to be fair, you'd be struggling to see that when it's displayed. Yeah. So the battery connector is here. I've started masking stuff out so you can't see a lot of detail. The battery connector is here, and that's all glued in. I had to modify the battery connector a little bit so that I could glue it onto the side. The wiring, as you can see, runs around, and a little switch on the side there that you can get your finger in, and that will click on and off. I don't know why I did that, because I've already masked it on the top, so I'll have to do that again. But anyway, that's how it works. So it goes out from the battery to the switch, through the switch, and then it will go onto the distribution board, and that will give me the power. What I've also done is at the back here, I've put 2 LEDs on each side. There's loads and loads of photographs with this, so you'll be able to see exactly how I've done it. Put 2 LEDs onto a small piece of this PCB, and soldered them in, and then soldered the cabling in, because it took up a lot less space, and it's really very rigid, that. So they come out. I'll take one of these off. I can always put it back on. And they come out like that. 2 nice neat red lights in underneath there. Okay, and underneath here there are 3. Underneath here there are the 3 God Bless You lights. I don't know why I masked it up before I did the video. And we always used to call them God Bless You lights. It could be a myth that that's what they're called, but that's what we've always done. Now there are no lights on here. What it says in the instructions is to paint those 3 a clear red and leave it at that. What I've done is I've glued a little bit of Perspex onto the inside, and I've painted that with transparent red paint. I've then put a set of lights like these into that box there, so that when there's 2 lights shining on, you get light coming out of all 3 of those, and they look real. Then I've had to build this little plastic box around them, otherwise they shed the light all over the place, so it needed to be confined, so it only went out through the 3 lights at the back. So that's what that little plastic box is for. It's just 3 pieces of PVC really. These 2 holes at the back here carry the running lights for if you want to disguise a vehicle so you can't see it from any distance, or you can't see it from the air, and there's no way I can light those up, so I'll just do them as you say in the kit, which is basically to paint them black, a little bit of white on the lenses. So that's what we're going to do. The wires for those have come in through the sides, as you can see, through both sides into the centre, and then run all the way along to here, up the slope there, and then they will go onto the distribution board, which will live in that position there. All the wires will be soldered onto it. There's 2 wires coming from the tractor unit, which will supply the power to the tractor, and then there's the wires coming from the lights in the swan neck. There are loads of other lights on it. Well, not loads, there's a few other lights on it. There's two little marker lights here and on the other side. There's two marker lights here, and there's two tiny marker lights that are underneath. You can just see them there, underneath the main lights. I'm not going to wire those up to LEDs. A, there'd be a million wires running all over the place, and B, I'm not convinced that it would benefit the kit at all. So we're just going to light the main ones up, which is what I've done. So that's all of the underneath of it, and when it's painted I'll wire it all up and you'll be able to see exactly what I've done then. On the top, I've got a connector sitting on the top there. You might be wondering why there's a bulldozer sitting there. This bulldozer is D9R, and I built that some months ago now with the intention of putting it on another truck, another tank transporter. But the reality is, this is the trailer and this is the unit, the tractor unit that would have pulled it and moved it around. So what I've done is I've rewired this. There's only one light on this, and that's in the cab. So when it goes, it would sit on the trailer like that. You would reverse it on and then drive it off. And of course, reversing it on, it wouldn't come on from the back, it would come on from the front when you drop the trailer, as we just described. So lay it on its side there, and what would happen is that will simply plug into there, he said with hope in his heart, plug into there, and then when the bulldozer's placed on the truck, disappears completely. You can't see it at all. Don't even think, I'm going to carefully lift it up, don't even think you can see it from the sides. No, you can't really. No, you can't see the wire at the top at all. So that will make the wire disappear. So that's what that's for, and it's just a cab light in the bulldozer. The video for it is, if you look down the playlists, if you want to see how that was built, there's a full build list for this bulldozer. That was a nice kit as well. I enjoyed building that. And that's about where we're up to. Everything's got to be painted. All of this decking here, wooden decking, needs making out to be timber. Then it needs weathering. I'm not going to weather it too much. I don't like a lot of weathering. I've done it on a few kits. I've certainly done it on that bulldozer. And that's about where I'm up to. All the other bits that are ready for painting are here, and that's the way I do it. I get all the bits ready, get everything ready for painting, then paint everything in one go. I think it makes much more sense. One thing I would say to you is simple enough to put section 25 together. Section 26 and 27, again, really very simple to put together. When you get the wheels, 28, 29 and 30, again, are really quite easy to put together. But these two springs, there's obviously something wrong with the mould. And when you come to put those two springs onto these four arms, I'll take that off there. When you put them on those four arms, they don't come out straight. Either the centre one's going to be at a slight angle. I know it looks straight on the video, but believe me, it's not. It's about 2 mil out, and there's no way I can straighten it out. I've tried all sorts to reconfigure it. The only way I can think of to do it, and the reason it's happening, is there are 2 pins on that spring that locate in 2 holes on each of these arms. The 2 pins aren't in the correct place, and they're offset. They're like that instead of being like that, and because of that, when you put the arms on, it knocks them out. It knocks them out a mil on each side, and that of course means it's about 2 mil out. When the thing's set in place on the trailer, on the suspension units, if you were to pick it up and look at it from the bottom, you would see that axle is well out. It's out by about 2 mil. You might even be able to see it on there. No, the camera angle's not being kind to it. But when it's displayed as you would display it, you'd be hard pushed to notice it. So I'm just going to leave it. I did think of cutting the 2 pins off on each spring, but then this would have all fallen to pieces. Now the devil's own job to fix it together again. So I've sacked that idea completely. That is where I'm up to. If you have any questions, any comments, then please leave them in the boxes below. I'll only be too happy to hear them. And other than that, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra!